Hey folks, welcome back to Modern Day Money. I'm Carlo, and today we're going to discuss what is FIRE and how do I achieve it? Obviously, the first step towards achieving FIRE is to hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Okay, no, but seriously now. The concept of financial independence and retiring early is probably about as old as society itself. Working hard and amassing assets that could then pay dividends and finance your lifestyle without you having to work. Unfortunately for many throughout history, this has been little more than a pipe dream. Unless you were some sort of nobility or landowner, chances are you were working till death. Even today, the amount of people that achieve FIRE are few and far between. Pretty much everyone has been conditioned to follow the same life formula. Go to school, get a college degree, start a career, start a family, work hard 9 to 5 till you're 65, have a midlife crisis, buy that sports car you've always wanted, retire, move to Florida to enjoy your retirement on your golf course, and see your kids a few times a year, and eventually die. If that sounds miserable to you, then you're in the right place, because that sounds miserable to me as well. Don't get me wrong though, you can follow that formula with some minor adjustments and live a fulfilling and happy life. But most people can't and don't. Fortunately for you, it's 2021 and there has never been a better time in the history of humanity to achieve FIRE. This black mirror that you spend hours staring at every day has access to the combined knowledge of all of human history. But more importantly, it will give you the knowledge that you need to achieve FIRE. From FIRE-oriented communities dedicated to sharing their tips and tricks, to opportunities to start businesses and side hustles, the internet can take you into the fast lane of achieving FIRE. Financial independence relies on one thing, and one thing only, which is your bank account. Well, technically multiple different accounts, but you know what I mean. The more money you have in your bank account, the sooner you can reach FIRE. Most people tie retirement age to a single number, age, when in reality it's tied to a different number, and that's your bank account balance. All you need is enough money in your account to withdraw at a safe rate while it continues to grow, and you can retire whenever you want. Before you get scared off at the idea of having to become some multi-millionaire to be financially independent, there are a couple different variations of FIRE. If all you've ever known about money is what you see on TV or movies, then you probably think the only people that are financially independent are millionaires that can spend money frivolously because they have so much of it they couldn't possibly run out. There are certainly people out there that have this kind of life, but let's not focus on that. Instead, let's focus on your life and the kind of life that you want to live. The first thing you need to do in order to achieve FIRE is to figure out what kind of lifestyle you want to live. At one end of the spectrum is fat FIRE. If you want mansions, private jets, fancy cars, well, you better start working hard and smart because that is a high level to get to. Certainly not impossible, but be prepared to work a lot and get a little lucky. The other end of the spectrum is lean FIRE. This is for the minimalists that don't need any material goods in order to be happy. As long as they have food and shelter, they are happy to live a very modest life. Most people don't want that level of minimalism, nor do they need the mansions and fancy cars. Most people are perfectly happy living a middle-class lifestyle, but having the time and freedom to do what they want within financial reason, of course. If you could live your current lifestyle, but didn't have to work to afford that, would that be sufficient for you? Regardless of which lifestyle you want to afford, it all comes down to the bank account. Not only how much you have in your account, but how much does your lifestyle cost you? When you really nail down your monthly expenses and account for all the spending throughout a typical year, how much money do you spend? $20,000? $50,000? $100,000? Everyone's number will be different. It will often vary drastically as certain areas cost more to live in than others. Often referred to as low cost of living, medium cost of living, high cost of living, and very high cost of living. The next part of your FIRE equation is how early you want to retire, or rather, how long does your money have to last you? For a long time now, FIREers have relied on the 4% rule. This rule states that you can withdraw 4% of your money every year, and this will last you about 30 years. Now, this is by no means set in stone. In fact, many have disputed this to be too conservative, but it's a good starting point. If you withdraw 4% of your funds every year to finance your lifestyle, you need about 25 times your annual spend to be able to live that kind of lifestyle. So let's look at a couple numbers. If your lifestyle costs you $25,000 a year between housing, food, transportation, gifts, vacation, and whatever else you spend money on, if it costs $25,000 each year, you would have to save up $625,000. This money would of course need to be in an investment account that would constantly accrue interest in order to beat out inflation and not to run out. Great, so now you know how much money you need. But how do you get to that number before 65? Theoretically, that part is simple. You can invest as much into it as possible each month, and you do this by spending as little as you can on non-necessities, or you can combine that with an increase of income. Having a financial plan is the first step that you need to take though. Almost no one reaches financial independence by accident. It takes effort and planning, but will quickly become second nature. There are several easy steps to follow to put you on the right path towards FIRE. Firstly, you need to have a clear 10,000-foot view of your finances. You cannot achieve financial independence if you don't know how much money you have. There are services like Mint that you can link all your accounts to and will tell you how much you have in assets and debts. This allows you to know your starting point, and thus you can determine how long your FIRE journey will be. Secondly, if you don't already have one, build an emergency savings fund. This is for when shit really hits the fan and you need to be able to keep a roof over your head. Most people will budget anywhere from 3 to 6 months, though 12 months isn't uncommon either. This is truly for emergencies and not to be touched for anything else. This is also the only money that you should have in a high-yield savings account. Thirdly, get rid of your debt. If you have any sort of high-interest debt, pay that off immediately. Credit card and consumer debt is the biggest culprit here, as well as predatory payday loans and similar. From a mathematical point of view, low-interest loans have a lower priority than funding your investment account. Without getting too much into the math, that'll be a different video. If your loan is less than 5%, keep paying the minimum payments and instead divert any extra cash into an investment account. Speaking of investment accounts, don't try and game the system with investments into the latest stock that CNBC is shilling. Match your employer's 401k contribution, max out your Roth IRA, and then put the rest into a diverse index fund like VTSX or VTI. Historically, these will average returns of about 8% per year, completely hands-free. Set up an automatic payment and never worry about it. These are the basic steps towards getting a hold of your finances and having them work for you instead of having them being a burden on your life. Of course, in reality, it's never that simple. There are always random expenses that come up, and most of us don't want to live like hermits eating chicken and rice for 25 years just to be able to retire early. On the spectrum of FIRE also exists a version called Coast-Fi, which is probably an attractive version for a lot of people. Sitting on a beach all day for the rest of your life may sound appealing, but will without doubt become very boring. Coast-Fi is essentially when you retire from your 9-to-5 corporate job and live life in a semi-retired state where you maybe work part-time or work seasonally. This gives you some income to pad the retirement account with, but also keeps you occupied. The point of FIRE isn't just to do nothing with your time, but rather choose exactly how you want to spend your time. Without the necessity of working a full-time job to cover your expenses, you can now spend your time doing what you want to do. If you love gardening, you can spend your days tending to a beautiful garden. If you love cars, you can spend your day fixing up cars. Perhaps you even love teaching and you sign up at your local community college as a part-time professor, teaching young minds about something that you are passionate and know a lot about. Often these passion projects can turn into extra income. And even if you were to start working again, it's not because you have to, but it's because you want to. And that freedom of choice is the real independence that we all seek. So by doing a combination of saving money, earning extra money from a side hustle, you can grow that retirement account as fast as ever and hit your FIRE goals in no time. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button for plenty more videos to come. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below and I will get to them as best I can. And until next time, see ya.